Hey guys, and welcome back to a belated new comic book day video. I the reason I haven't recorded earlier, this is Friday at time of recording and will be time of upload, but I could have recorded on Wednesday, but I ended up having another book that I was going to pick up, and I wasn't going to be picking it up until Thursday. And Thursday, I ended up getting the book, but working incredibly late, later than I'm like an hour and a half after I was supposed to get off of work. So I haven't been able to record this. So when I got home, I just passed out, and so here we are on Friday. Have every book with me. I didn't forget anything this time, I don't think. So yeah, let's get into it. So this is another new comic book day plus some extras in case you didn't realize. This book you see in front of you, 10 Grand by Image. This is a book that actually came out, a series that came out in 2013. And I was just picking up my pull from my local comic store, and they had the set of these books. It's not the entire run, it's only missing 2 books. It was a 12-issue mini-series or maxi-series, and it was for $20, so figured I might as well go ahead and pick it up. I really like the art style, and the story sounded really good. Basically what I'm getting from it is it's kind of a Crow kind of a story, in that this man's wife ends up dying, and he's doing everything he can to get her back. He's basically, it's like Spawn mixed with the Crow, in that he's trying to get retribution for his past life to be able to go to heaven to meet with his wife, because otherwise they're going to be separated for eternity. So we kind of made a deal with this angel, and yeah, so that basically just encompasses the parts of the first issue. So that's as far as I am into it. So, but it looks really good. I really like the art style, though it seems the artist changed halfway through. But I'm looking forward to reading it, and let's go ahead and run through these issues real quick. There's issue 1. All of these except for one I'll bring out are the normal covers, and this is the only one that wasn't. And honestly, I do really like this variant. So if I was going to have any of them not be the main cover, I'm kind of glad it was this one, because some of the later ones didn't look all that great, but I like this one. So that's issue 2. Issue 3. Again, I love this artwork. Issue 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And issue number 10. So again, this is a 12-issue maxi series, so I'm missing the last 2, but they're like $3 or $4 for me to pick up, so I'll do that my best. I'm actually going to the a kind of local comic store. It's Atomic Comics 2. My local is, I have 2 local Atomic Comics. No, I'm going to Atomic Comics 1 on Saturday, but Atomic Comics 2, because there's 2 of them, and this is the second one that they opened, which is a lot closer to me, and Amazing Fantasy Comics. Amazing Fantasy is where I have my pull, but Atomic stocks a lot more in terms of back issues and modern variants. So I'll get my pull from Amazing and go to Atomic to pick up whatever variants I didn't get. But the Atomic Comics 1 is actually the largest comic store in Virginia. It's massive, and that's where I'll be going this Saturday, so tomorrow. And I'm going to see if they have the last 2 issues I can maybe pick up. But depending on what I pick up tomorrow, you might actually be able to see another video coming up this weekend. And I just realized I did forget a book, but it's alright. If you haven't seen it yet, my 250 subscribers contest entry for Mr. Comics 89. He's a wonderful YouTuber. He's celebrating 250 subscribers. He had a contest going, and I put in my entry via video entry. If you want to check that out, it was my last video. In there, I chose Bloodshot as one of my characters, and I picked up Rye #0. So if you want to see that book, I don't want to have to shuffle through my comic box to go get it. because I'm trying to be a little more professional. But if you want to see that book, do go check it out. If I can remember, I'll try to include it in a later video. But I did pick up Rye number 0, the first full appearance of Bloodshot. So, but anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So, one of the books, like I said, I do enjoy going to Atomic to pick up certain variants. But also, Atomic, like I said, has a larger supply of more modern books that just come out on New Comic Book Day, because Amazing Fantasy is a smaller comic store. It's owned by a couple, and they only really order what they know is going to sell. So when I go in there, they might have new books that Amazing Fantasy didn't, and this was one of them. This is Batman's Grave, issue number 1. This, of course, is the variant cover, which I liked this cover a lot more than the other one. It's $1 more, but I mean, that's just badass right there. Batman just coming crashing through what I assume is a window, or maybe a skylight, and I mean, that's just awesome. So it is cardstock. It is a cardstock cover, which is why it's $1 more, but that's just a gorgeous cover. It's an alright book. It's a more detective style book. I was in it and thought it was pretty good until the very last panel. The very last panel was just a little, it felt a little out of place and odd to me. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty solid book, and I'm going to try to keep up with it. There are 9 issues, I believe, in this, so we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I decided to pick up that first one. Didn't get the normal one, just this one, because I'm spending enough money on my books, because I have all of the Dawn of X books now added to my pull, because a book you'll see later has now caused me to get at least the number 1 of every single other book. But I'll give my thoughts on that in just a second. But I'm spending enough as it is. I can't get normal and variant of every book, especially when it comes to those massive prestige books. Sometimes I have to pick and choose. But moving right along, the next book I have is Spider-Man issue number 2. This is the new J.J. Abrams and Henry Abrams series, and issue 1 I thought was... See, I still have the same thoughts in that I think whether or not I really do enjoy it and would recommend it. Well, okay, I would recommend it, but whether or not I'm going to like it, and not just be, it was alright, is not going to happen until the series is over. And it's just one of those kinds of books to see where things go, because it's kind of a thing of when I look to the rest of the issues, they could either get really interesting and really good, or just be not very good, depending on how they decide to make the resolution. But so far, I'm enjoying it. The one thing I will give it that Comics With You Boy Zach brought out was that Henry Abrams is doing a lot of the writing, or he's supposed to be, at least. I don't know how much he's actually doing, but he's writing the son of Peter Parker very well. He writes kids very well because, I mean, he's a kid, so he can write them really well. It's just like writing from his point of view, his perspective. And I think he's doing a great job with it. And I think if they keep it up, I think it's going to be a really good series to look out for. So if you haven't yet looked into the series, I would definitely recommend it. So far, it's really good. And it's looking like it's going to stay up, but I'm still being reserved because, I mean, you never know. But, yeah, so I'm going to keep that on my pull, and you can expect to see that in the coming weeks whenever the next issue comes out. All right. Moving right along, the next book is, keeping with the Spider-Man theme, Absolute Carnage number 4, just the regular cover. Yeah, it's really good. I'm really enjoying the Absolute Carnage. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I'm a little disappointed in that they're coming out with so many tie-ins. Every week you're seeing this released alongside 5 other one-shot tie-ins, as well as Amazing Spider-Man tying into it and Venom tying into it. And I just said, screw that. I'm going to read Absolute Carnage and get the story there. Whatever I miss, oh well. Like, I'm not spending another, $3-4 for a tie-in issue, for like 3 or 4 tie-in issues every week. So that's what, an extra, like $15-16 every week, plus Venom and Amazing Spider-Man, 2 series that I haven't been into in the first place. And, you know, I'm alright. I'm just going to stick with this main series, because this main series has been pretty good. My only gripe with this main series is that they seem to be making Carnage seem too powerful. And that's something you have to be really careful about, especially when it comes to people like Superman. When it comes to writing like Superman, it's very, very easy to get caught up in him being all-powerful, which I'll bring up in a later book that I have coming up in just a few books here. But when it comes to Carnage, they're making him look like a god. Now, when you make everyone else look insignificant and the main villain look like an unbeatable god, it's, you know, I mean, when the hero does eventually overcome the villain, it can sometimes be a little unbelievable and leave a bad taste in the reader's mouth. But only time will tell how this will go. I think they can work it to be right, but it doesn't seem like that's the way they're going. So for now, like I said, I'm going to keep this on my pull list. I am enjoying it. The art's great. The story's really good, too. So I'm going to keep this on my pull list and just see where it goes. At the end of the day, I'm not going to regret it. But I think they're taking a few missteps here and there, but nothing to really make me want to drop it from my pull. There's only one book that I've dropped off my pull. And in case you haven't noticed or you haven't seen it, that Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul issue 1, I can't remember if I said it in the video or not, but I dropped that off of my pull the next day. Because that book was garbage, and I'm not paying $5 for every single issue, or $4. To me, it's not worth it. The art's pretty good, but the story was just garbage. That's the only book I've ever dropped off my pull list. But this book's still good. So, moving right along. I hope I'm not going too many tangents. I do like to talk. But anyway, this next book I did not get the main cover for, strictly because these... I did get 2 variants of it, though. One of which I didn't pay for, my dad actually paid for, because this was the book that I had to pick up yesterday. Which, when I got dropped off at work, my dad went and picked up this one of these variants for me. And, yeah, because, I mean, he wanted it and I wanted it, so he didn't have a problem with it. It's just going to be ours. But, starting with the first variant, the variant that I went in wanting, this is X-Men number 1. This is the Art Germ variant, the Marvel Girl variant. I am in love with this cover. Art Germ is an incredible artist, and this variant is no exception. This is just gorgeous. And it's actually so good that my phone, its facial recognition is going off on her face. If that tells you anything. But had to pick this up. This I got from Atomic, because X-Men number 1 was not initially on my pull list, because I didn't want to get dragged down into the 6 titles they're coming out with. But I read X-Men number 1. I really, really enjoyed it. I really did. But first, let me show this other variant I got. This was the one that is making me have to get at least the number 1 issues of all of the other ones, which, in case you haven't figured it out yet, that is the Every Mutant Ever cover by Mark Bagley. I didn't know it at first, because at first I just thought it was this by itself, because I hadn't looked into the other books yet. And my dad said, you know, it would be really cool if it was a fold-out, so if it was a front and back, because I just wasn't too impressed by this by itself. I think Bagley's done a lot better. But when I looked into it, all 7 issues, so the 6 other ones, including this one, all link up together. They're all going to have the Every Mutant Ever covers by Mark Bagley. And combined, all 7 issues are going to have 378 mutants on the cover, on this combined cover, which is awesome. So I had to at least get the first issues of each one on my pull, so that'll give me a good taste of whether or not I like each book and how interconnected the books are, because that was the big thing for me. Because I mean, spending the $5 on each number one issue and then the four, I mean, that's adding quite a bit to the pull list for me if I don't fall in love with each issue. Some issues I'm looking more forward to, like X-Force I'm looking way more forward to than, say, Excalibur or Marauders. Not too looking forward to those. But New Mutants I'm also looking forward to strictly because Hickman's on it. But yeah, so I have to at least get the first issues of each book. But so like I said, Every Mutant Ever cover. If you like connecting covers, this is the biggest I've ever seen. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this thing all put together. But X-Men #1, I enjoyed. It's Cyclops' team. So, Cyclops, Jean, Cable, kind of, although I think Cable's going to be more prominent in another team, as well as his father, Havoc, so his brother. I think, did I say Wolverine? Wolverine, if I didn't say him already. But yeah, it was a pretty good story. Oh yeah, and Storm's in it too. But it was well written. I didn't keep up with House of X or Powers of X, but I generally know this. I know the general story, so I have the gist of it. So I wasn't too lost during it, but I think I'm gonna have to see how it pans out to give my real thoughts on it. But I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. Let's put it that way. So, not to dwell on this too much longer, let's go ahead and move on to the next book. Again, this was not on my pull list. Actually, the next two were not on my pull list. But I saw them actually at Amazing Fantasy, not at Atomic. Actually, the first one was at Atomic. The second one was at Amazing Fantasy. But I had to... Oh. The X-Men #1, just to go back to it for a second. My Amazing Fantasy, they had the 1 in 25 variant for $25. So it was like twice the going value for it, but I bought it. I ended up returning it because it was damaged. So they're going to return it. So they said if they get another one in a replacement, they're just going to put it in my box and hold it for me. So you might see issue #1 of X-Men appear in a later haul. But going back to what I was saying, my next book is this one. I had to pick this up. It's Snyder's next Batman book after Batman Who Laughs. Well, actually, Last Night on Earth, I think. Although issue 3 had... Because this was supposed to be his first outing after Last Night on Earth, but Last Night on Earth was pushed back. So, yeah. Now it's just kind of a thing in the middle, weirdly. But this is Tales from the Dark Multiverse, a new series that DC is going to be doing about Tales from the Dark Multiverse. The Dark Multiverse essentially encompasses... If you know what a multiverse is in DC, it's basically where it's the exact same Earth, but people make different choices, causing them to go down different paths. And in the Dark Multiverse, it causes heroes to become not so heroes anymore, depending on certain choices they make. And the first one, this one, is based around a different choice that was made in Batman Nightfall. Now, it's not necessarily a different choice, but something that could have happened differently or turned out differently. So if you've ever heard of I guess it's kind of a pseudoscience of every choice you make every day creates a parallel dimension where you do make the opposite choice of what you actually made. So if you go to buy cereal and you say, no thanks, and that creates an alternate reality where you did buy this cereal, and that's the same thing for every single choice. And that's basically what this is. But for the Dark Multiverse, it leads to a darker version of that Earth. So in this case, without spoiling anything, basically Batman Nightfall, when Bane breaks Batman's back and Azrael takes over the cowl, Batman doesn't successfully take it back. In fact, Azrael, or Jean-Paul, you don't really hear him called Azrael. You mainly just hear him called either the Knight of Saint Dumas or Jean-Paul Valley. You don't really hear Azrael, but actually, as you can see, Saint Batman. They'll call him Saint Batman. So basically, Saint Batman or Azrael stays in the Batman throne. He stays on the throne and ends up killing Bane and basically de-limbing Batman and keeping him, and returns every year to him to seek his approval for what Azrael's doing. So every year he'll go and visit Bruce Wayne, who he has locked up away in what was Wayne Enterprises as just a torso and a head, to seek his approval for what he's doing to or for Gotham. And Bane's son comes to take back over the city, along with some help, but I'll let you read it, because this is an awesome read. It's a nice square-bound book, wonderful story, incredible art. If you have not picked this up already and you like Batman, and especially if you love Scott Snyder's Batman, you're going to fall in love with this, because the twist ending in this book, and there is quite a twist ending that I didn't see coming, was awesome. Not in the, like, oh, yay, like, woo kind of awesome. It was more like, oh, my God. Didn't see that coming kind of awesome. Which is very hard to find nowadays in comics, because they've just gotten so predictable. But this is an awesome story, awesome artwork. Pick it up. You will not regret it. I can guarantee you that. Now, the rest of the series, I'm going to pick and choose with these. So the next one is going to be The Death of Superman, where Superman dies. And I thought it was Supergirl, but it's actually Lois Lane somehow gets Superman powers and gets revenge on the people who killed or caused the death of Superman. I'm not too into that. The main reason I got this, I'm not going to lie, I love Batman Nightfall, one of my favorite comic stories of all time, and I love Scott Snyder, and I love Azrael, so it was kind of a win-win. So the rest of the series, you might see an issue here or there, but I'm not going to put this on my pull list and get every single issue. So if anything, my dad's going to get the next issue because he loves Superman, and the death of Superman was a huge thing for him when he was collecting in the 90s. But anyway, moving along, this video was actually looking at a pretty decent length, and now I can't shut up, so that's not helping. But we've only got 2 books left. If you've stayed this long, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. I'm gonna be honest, I was considering not making this video, just because it takes about half an hour of my time, and I get 15 views, maybe, out of the video, and maybe a like or two, and maybe a comment, but it just, I just couldn't justify making a half an hour video that no one watches, and that when I look at the analytics, maybe 1 or 2 people watch the whole thing, and the average view duration is about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. But I figured, why not? I'm doing, I've got nothing better to do, so to hell with it. Anyway, my next book, You're the Villain, #1, The Joker. Oh, and my point with that is, if you are one of those who do watch my videos and watches it the whole way through, or at least most of the way through, thank you. I really do appreciate it. You're the reason I'm doing these every week. And if you want me to do something different, please let me know in the comments. If you want to see a shorter video, it's hard to, but I'll try to make a shorter video the best I can. Just let me know in the comments what you think would work better and what you prefer. But anyway, I'll get into that spiel at the end. But You're the Villain, The Joker, #1. So this is part of the massive You're the Villain, which apparently is culminating into a big event at the end of it that leads directly out of Superman Batman, that has to do with the Batman Who Laughs. Which, again, if you're not reading Superman Batman, you'll see that on my upcoming New Comic Book Day haul on next Wednesday, because Superman Batman issue 4? Yeah, 4 comes out. And I'll talk about it a little bit more there, but that's another really good book you need to add to your pull if you haven't. But this one, there was a massive hype for this book because, as you can see on the cover, it was co-written by John Carpenter. If you don't know who John Carpenter is, he's written such books as Lord, he's made such wonderful films as Halloween 1 and 2, I believe. And I think he came back for a partial role in the new Halloween film. He did It. He did. I mean, he's a master of horror. And so seeing him brought onto a Joker book, I don't know. I was kind of scared to buy it just because a lot of the guys that used to be awesome kind of aren't anymore. I mean, look at Neil Adams. Neil Adams has kind of gone a little senile in his old age, and it can make his books hard to really read, especially if you follow him on Twitter for any period of time. He's a little nuts, and to separate the man from his work can be a little hard when he becomes his work, and it just kind of seeps through and it's unpleasant. But John Carpenter in this, he still got it, man. This is such a good story, and it's very timely given the Joker movie. Not because it's a Joker book, but because of how it portrays the Joker in the book. And it's very similar to the movie. So if you enjoy the Joker film, or if you like the idea behind the Joker film, I think you're going to like this, because it's like that, but it gives a comic book Joker twist to it. So it's really, really good if you haven't read it yet. Decent enough artwork in the beginning, but it gets a lot better as it goes on. It is stylized, so if this cover looks appealing to you, you're going to like the interior artwork. It's kind of like just on the line of not liking it, but I like it enough, and the story just helped me, and I like the artwork even more now. So yeah, pick it up if you haven't. It's a one-shot, so you don't have to worry about sinking too much money into this down the road, but it is $5. But you do get your money's worth. At least I felt I did. So, going into the last book as we round out to about half an hour again, because despite my best efforts, these always end up being long videos. So, last but, well, I would say but not least, but it kind of is, Superman Year 1, Issue 3 by Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. Now, to go along with my first 2 issues, I had to get the Frank Miller cover, also because I just don't really like John Romita's artwork anymore. I just think he's lost it. Like I was just talking about before, John Romita Jr., I used to really love his artwork, and I thought he was a great successor to his father. And now, everyone looks the exact same, and he has big anatomy problems, to the point where it's not really a stylistic choice anymore, it's just a problem. But I feel like his artwork has gotten a lot better throughout each issue, and this issue I think is probably the best out of all 3 for me, just because this is the Superman book out of all 3. The first one was the Clark Kent book. The second one was the Superboy book. This one is the Superman book. I really enjoyed this. It shows him setting up, becoming the Clark Kent that we know and love, who works at the Daily Planet. When I was a kid, I had an impossible time distinguishing Daily Planet and Bugle. But I think I've got it straight now. The regular cover, I will say, was actually really good on this one, but I'm not buying both of them. So, but like I said, this is him getting into a relationship with Lois, also kind of with Wonder Woman. Now, if you don't want spoilers, skip this part, because this book kind of aggravated me in a way, and I just want to get it out there. Okay, you gone? People staying want to hear it? Okay, so in this book, Frank Miller, I think, is scared of developing minor characters that are only going to appear for part of the book, which isn't always a problem, but it is when you're going to make that part of the book they appear a pretty big part and a focus point. So the last 2 issues, it seems like Frank Miller loves people just falling for Superman after knowing him for 5 seconds. In the first one, Lana fell in love with him, and when he left for the military, she was just so torn up, and she's just gonna miss him. Which, I mean, it made sense at that point. They had spent years dating at that point. But she did kind of fall in love with him out of nowhere. And right after her almost getting raped, which, in the big picture of things, that whole scene, I liked at the time, but after having read all three, it really sticks out like a sore thumb. It just doesn't fit the overall theme of the book. And all in all, this really shouldn't have been Black Label. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Prestige format, but I don't think this fits into the Black Label format. There's nothing really mature about it outside of 2 scenes of attempted sexual assault. Other than that, nothing. But in this book, Lois falls in love with him pretty much after having met him. Which, I mean, that goes to comics. And Lois isn't very well developed, but Lois is a very simple character. You don't really need to. I mean, all you need to know is she's a reporter that likes getting herself into dangerous spots that Superman ends up having to save her for, although Lois likes to tell herself that she didn't need to be saved when she was falling off of a building. But not that that happened in this book, but you know. But and then later in this book, basically this whole thing is very similar to the Superman the Animated Movie. If you ever saw that, Lex Luthor teams up with the Joker to take down Superman and Batman and try to pit them against each other, and they end up working together in the end. However, the way that Frank Miller has them work together, keep in mind, this is in the Dark Knight universe, so this is Frank Miller's Superman. And in this, they treat Batman as a muscle-bound idiot, although he narrates it as if he was still the genius Batman we all know and love. And he looks down on Superman because he, quote, thinks he's as dumb as a bag of rocks. When Batman is probably the dumbest one in this whole book. Batman... So this all culminated at the very end to a meeting of basically Superman realized that Lex Luthor was trying to get Superman to kill Batman. So Superman goes to meet Batman, and Batman's expecting it and has set a trap for him. So he traps him. He has these little wrist or ankle things that shackle him to the roof of a building, and little drones scan his physiology. And Batman says it like, I know your weakness, I know what you're like, I've had my robots scan your physiology, I know what'll hurt you. So that makes you think, okay, cool, he's going to come out with something that's actually going to hurt Superman. Because keep in mind, throughout these whole 3 issues, not once does Superman struggle, not once does he get hurt, not even slightly. And so it would seem like a payoff for, okay, he hasn't been hurt at all yet, ever. The only time he's had to struggle is he's had to struggle from just full out becoming a god. And we think, okay, the payoff is that Batman is going to be the one person that can hurt him. Nope. What he decides to do is insult Superman while wailing away at him with electricity, which is apparently the only weapon people think work against Superman, because people only ever used gas, bullets, and electricity against him. That was it. Those were the weapons. And Batman, after having scanned his physiology and knows what will hurt him, decides to use the one thing that people use against him that is shown to make him more powerful: electricity. And Batman doesn't get it. So he's just wailing away like a Neanderthal, just punching Superman with these electric gauntlets, and starts to wear himself out. So Superman just understandably gets just fed up with it, grabs him by the shirt or his costume, lifts him up, and pulls his fist back like he's going to punch him, and he tells him that he could end the fight in just one blow. And out of nowhere comes Wonder Woman, grabs his arm, and says, enough with the fighting. We need to work together to promote unity, to promote, wait for it, justice. So that's how he sets up Justice League in a slightly better way than the Batman v Superman movie. Slightly, not much better. It's like he ripped the exact same way that they did it in the movie, but slightly more nonsensical, but while slightly more sensical. It's odd, because Wonder Woman, like I said, has not been mentioned in any of these books. Was not set up. Because Batman wasn't mentioned either until this issue. But it was set up. Wonder Woman just came out of nowhere. No mention of her, no anything. And she just comes out of nowhere. And these two, as far as we know, have never met Wonder Woman. And somehow they just go along with her and trust her and decide to start working together. And they go meet up with Luthor, and she used her lasso of truth to get him to confess to what he's been doing. And Luthor gets locked away. Now, keep in mind, this takes place in a page. A page. And from the first time they meet to after having confronted Luthor, which it doesn't say later on that night, like it's shown to happen directly after it. Superman finds out that the Kandorians are still alive and Brainiac is keeping them hostage. So Superman goes off to find them, but Wonder Woman says, "Take me with you. I want to go with you. I want to help." He says, "No, I'll be fine." Wonder Woman goes, "But I won't. Please give me something to remember you by." And Superman kisses her on the forehead and then flies off to find the Kandorians while Wonder Woman cries. They've known each other for a page. A page. And now it's being written like they've known each other for the last few years. They're married and whatever. She's giving him a more emotional send-off than Lana did. And Lana and Clark had been dating for years. And they just met. I just don't get how Frank Miller can put a girl in front of Superman, have them fall in love immediately, and then when Superman ultimately has to leave, they swoon over him. And just they can't live with themselves without Superman. That I'm not a big fan of. Everything else in the book I thought was really good. I'm just not a big fan of how they decided to set up the Justice League for seemingly no reason other than, hey, look, Justice League. And man, it's such a headache. Because while I do think this is the best book in the series, I also think, all in all, issue 2 was a lot better. Just because it didn't upset me. But despite the bad things, keep in mind the things I'm ranting about were like the last 5 pages of the book. That's it. And there's like 64. So the rest of the book was awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But the ending, I didn't like. I didn't like the ending, and it's left kind of a bad taste in my mouth. Would I recommend it? Yes. Just because I think the art is actually really good from John Romita. It's some of the best he's done. There's quite a few page and 2-page spreads that are awesome. Some of the best work I've seen Romita do for Superman. And Wonder Woman looks awesome in it too. The Batman design is a little meh. I just think Frank Miller goes a little overboard with his writing. But if you can get past that and just enjoy it for what it is, I think it's a good book. And I think it's worth a pickup to at least read through once, just to read it. But I wouldn't say go rushing out of your way and spend your last $6 or $7 on this book. If you have the money to spare or whatever, or if you didn't have anything coming out this past week and you want a book, I think this is a good one. At the end of the day, it's just meh. Disappointed with it, but what are you gonna do? And of course, that was the last issue. Whether or not Frank Miller's going to come out with a successor, I don't know. But it did leave on kind of a cliffhanger of him going to find Brainiac. So I'd like to see a follow-up. But for now, this is what we're left with. Anyway, like I do every week, I'm going to pick out what is probably my top pick of the week. And honestly, I could have picked out 2. But I had to pick out this one. X-Men #1. I mean, for one, this cover is just gorgeous. But it's a new X-Men #1. The series looks like it's going to be really good. I really enjoy Hickman, and the art I think is really solid. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this is going, because a lot of people don't like how it's a new take on the X-Men. I think it's cool. It's something different that hasn't been done before, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. But all of these books were awesome. Of course, like I said, if you can pick up the variant cover, only the Every Mutant Ever cover, I wouldn't pick it up unless you plan on getting every #1 issue. But I will say this, it has made me really look forward to the coming issues of each individual series. It's made me really hopeful. I'm looking forward to it, which I wasn't before, so there's something, right? Also, that comic series I showed you, 10 grand, check it out. Here, actually. $10,000. If you can pick it up. There's actually a Phantom variant of this issue #1, which is actually a really cool cover. But I would recommend picking it up. I mean, you can get the whole thing for $30–40 for all 12 issues. Seems like a solid read. Great writing, very interesting stylized art. But I think it's a great book by Image that I would definitely recommend getting if you can find it. So yeah, that is my pull for the week, including some extras. If you enjoyed, please do like, comment, and subscribe. But especially comments. I don't care if you subscribe, I don't care if you like. Well, that's not true, I do care. I'm just saying it's not a thing that I'm making you like have to do. Not that you have to do anything for me, but if you had to do anything, I would really prefer comments, because comments are how I gauge interest, how I can see what y'all want me to do better, because at the end of the day, all of these videos are for you. And if I'm doing something wrong, or you want me to see something different, not that the way I'm doing something's wrong, but you just want to see me do it differently, please do bring it up to me, and I will do my best to fix it. And let me know if you have any video ideas. If you want to see, because I posted up my Spider-Man comic collection of my keys, but if you want to see an updated just key comic book collection of everything else, because I don't really have a large collection of any other one specific title, I just have a lot of everything. So if you want to see that, if you want to see my new comic book corner kind of a thing, please do let me know. If you have anything you want to see from my collection, let me know down in the comment section. I will do my best. But for now, you can expect a new comic book video every week for my pickups for that week. Not just for my new comic book day, but also whatever I may have gotten that week. So, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thank you very much ahead of time for your feedback and for your patience, because this is a long video, but I like to think we're both getting something out of this. And if you've watched the whole thing, or at least most of it, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It means the world to me that you take out time from your day to just watch this idiot babble for my longest video now, which has been 45 minutes almost. So thank you guys so much for the support and for everything you do. And I hope to see you guys next Wednesday, hopefully. I'm going to try to put it down on Wednesday. Now, I was going to try to do this live, but apparently I don't meet the requirements for mobile streaming. And that's how I record. I record on my phone. I don't have a webcam, so I can't really do that. So, for now, I'm just going to have to stick to recordings. But hopefully, sometime in the future, just know I am looking to do a live video at some point down the road. If that's something you'd like to see, let me know too. But for now, like I said, I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. It's a beautiful day here, and finally in Virginia, it seems like the fall's setting in, and I'm looking forward to it. But it's some good times to be a comic collector, so don't skip out and don't look over independent comic books, and always support your local comic book store. Thank you very much. This has been The Comic Collector. See y'all next week.